talking about attracting energy, like giving out and getting, which I talk a lot about. Something that's on my mind, which I know you must deal with, is when you're a very adventurous person, when you always want to film or go on these adventures, you have to have friends that are willing to say yes and willing to do that. Is there a way, and the reason I mentioned this, because I think a lot of people struggle to find like-minded friends. Actually, I don't like the word like-minded, like-hearted friends.
Yeah.
Is there a way you've attracted adventure or created serendipity, or you've been able to find friends who are quote-unquote always down for you?
Yeah. So it's weird. Okay, I'll shout one guy out because I know he'd like to have he wouldn't mind having his name on the podcast. His name is James Varela.
Yeah.
He's one of my really good friends, and he makes fun of me for it because I have convinced him to I've convinced him to spend so much money, spend so much time going XYZ, and he always says yes. And for the longest time, it was always a lot of times just me and him.
Yeah.
And I couldn't really, it was hard, like you said, to find like-hearted people who would always say yes. But that's the power of the internet, because the internet is a scary thing at times, like a very scary thing. But at the same time, it can also be really powerful.
Yeah.
And getting involved in an online community of like-hearted people expands your horizons so much farther than where you are right now. So, for example, James Varela is one of my only creator friends that I have right now that I know would always say yes.
Yeah.
But now through these online communities, and one of them is Suspicious Antwerp that we were talking about yesterday, now I have friends in Hawaii, in Colorado, all around the world, like in Spain and South Africa, that if I asked them do you want to do XYZ, they'd probably say yes, just because. And now I have these connections all around the world, and you go there and then you make more connections there, and you just keep building that network, which is a really powerful thing.
Yeah, I think the two pieces of advice I'd pull out of what you're saying is shared interest.
Yep.
Like finding other creators. Other creators are, of course, want to go on the adventure with you because that's content for them too. That's how they live their life. Something that I think is an underrated piece of advice here for finding like-minded friends is, and I think this could be definitely expanded into relationships too, is everyone always wants to find a better girlfriend or a better boyfriend or better friends. They want to find them, but they don't want to be them.
Yeah.
If you want to have more friends that say yes, be the friend that always says yes. If you want to have more friends that seek adventure, be the friend that is always going on adventures. And the way you live, you will attract people who live the same way.
Yeah.
The online community is a big one. I always go back to my friend Chris at Creator Camp, where and how we were talking about people look up to people with followers and they idolize them. They think they have these fun lives. And one of the most common misconceptions is they think because someone has followers, they must have a lot of friends. But actually, people with followings are sometimes some of the loneliest people on earth because the people that they would be friends with are thinking they must have friends, and they thinking of themselves as less, and they treat them like fans rather than friends. And I've learned so much through this podcast that when I've interviewed more famous people or more successful people, I just FaceTime. I treat them like I would treat any of my friends, and they like it for the most part. And I don't know where I'm going with this, but I think online communities are so powerful. Like basically what my friend did with Creator Camp is he took all these creators from all around the world and he would bring them to an in-person event. And I was always grown up like, be afraid of strangers, don't talk to people on the internet. But I've had so many good experiences with strangers, with people on the internet. And even as we mentioned Yes Theory a couple times in this podcast, Matt Dahlia, one of the main Yes Theory members, is releasing a book. The title is called Talk to Strangers. Yeah. Because talking to strangers, before we had phones, that was the only way you met people. And now it's become this thing where like so much of society lives in fear. They're always like, what could go wrong? What could be awkward? Even something I've noticed in high school that I really struggled with is that I would have one friend that was really cool and a friend in another group that was really cool. And I'd be like, I want to introduce these people. But I'm worried that if they don't like me, they're going to think badly of me. Like, oh, why would you introduce me? Yeah. But now all my friends are so open-minded. They're all creators. They're all like people from church or creators, and they're the type of people that even if they didn't like the interaction, they're always going to be grateful that you introduced someone.
Yeah.
And so now I've surrounded myself with people who are always just, they want to meet new people. They want to go on adventures. They want to, yeah. I don't know if you have any thoughts for...
Yeah. It's funny because I speak to all this stuff about meeting new people like online and stuff, but at heart, I'm actually I'm like extroverted and introverted at the same time. I get nervous meeting new people, but when I have some sort of connection to them beforehand, like even with you, like just, breaking the ice online or like even knowing that we both have similar interests with like creating stuff helps me so much to like kind of take that ease, like, or like be like, just be more calm about it. But if I can't like honestly say that I'm good at going up to people and approaching them, like just not knowing anything about them. But that's why I said for someone like me who is a little more introverted when it comes to, introducing yourself to new people, the internet has been such a powerful tool for me because it's got me to break that initial ice with someone that I, wouldn't necessarily do if I just saw them on the street. And now I've had like incredible friendships with some people who, if I just saw them on the street, I probably would have never have met them ever in my life.
That's a really interesting point as well. Something that's loosely related that I think about often is, why does everyone go to college and they feel so... Okay, I don't want to say everyone, but a majority of people in college feel so comfortable joining a frat or sorority, but they don't feel comfortable showing up to a business club, or they don't feel comfortable showing up to an ultimate frisbee club. They like... Frats and sororities are the biggest clubs at every school by far. I mean, almost at every school. And I think that's so interesting. I don't know if I could explain it, but the thought is that everywhere, like frats and sororities are so good at advertising what people think they want. It's like, oh, you think you want to party, you want to and I'm not anti-frat or sorority at all, because I think that even though I don't drink, I think that a lot of kids who have never experienced community, or they come from bad homes, the first place they'll ever experience community is like a frat or a sorority. And people will, in the self-help space and in my Christian space, they'll always condemn frats because they'll be like, frats are just about sex and drugs and alcohol, and to a degree that stuff happens in frats, but also they're a place where people experience community and family. And I think like there was a time when I felt the same way, where I felt comfortable joining a frat, but I didn't feel comfortable joining an online community or a business club, and now I always go to the online communities or the business clubs or these places and these in-person meetups, and I realize like the importance of being able to be uncomfortable for a little bit, to be like, okay, maybe these people are going to be weird, or maybe they're going to have different interests, or maybe that has led to so many bountiful relationships in my life. It's the only reason I can film this podcast is because of going to events and meeting people and taking those risks, DMing people online. And I don't know. That's my thoughts when I think about that.
I mean, just to your point, I think it's just in general, it's very important to be open-minded about everything, like so many people, like you said, will condemn a fraternity or sorority, but on the other hand, so many people will condemn something like a business club, or you know what I mean? Like everyone always has opinions on things. But that's something that I like to pride myself on, is just being very open-minded and not shutting my mind off to any sort of possibility. Because like you said, somewhere where you thought that like maybe you wouldn't make friends, maybe you wouldn't like these people, maybe you wouldn't fit in, maybe you don't fit in, but maybe you meet one person from there that is, ends up being someone really close to you. And it's just super important to be open-minded about community and all that stuff.